Buckingham Palace has announced that Harry is planning to attend the coronation of his father, and he's going to do so without Meghan Markle clinging onto his arm, and their two kids won't be there either. So, what do I think of this news? Well, I can't say I'm surprised. In fact, I expected this. And I would say that it's a pretty good outcome for the king. Now, I've got to admit, though, the king is part of a small minority of people who actually want Harry to be there. So what does it all mean? Well, it does mean a lot of the same old, same old. Meghan's using her title and she's trying to make sure those invisible kids have those titles. But they're going to be thousands of miles away in California as the family and the country welcomes a new sovereign. See, Meghan still wants all the perks and she feels entitled to them, but she is not willing to put in even a single day's work. But still, I have got to admit, this was the best possible outcome. Charles gets Harry there, I know it was important to him, and the country is spared the return of Meghan Markle. The invisible kids, as per my usual stance, are not going to be discussed. Honestly, their attendance was never really going to be important anyway due to their age and the likelihood that they don't exist. We don't really need to do any deep dive on this news. If I were Meghan, I would also not want to come. I mean, why would she want to come? It's way too risky that she's going to be booed and not be welcomed at all. And if I were Meghan, I would never agree to allow my two invisible children to get on a plane to a foreign country with their father. Meghan knows better than anyone how easily manipulated Harry is. I mean, that's how she got him to marry her. I haven't heard anyone express surprise at this news, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Anybody who cannot already see how Meghan's going to spin this to her advantage in her upcoming book is completely blind to reality. Because as we all know, Saint Markle of Montecito is a saint and she's always a victim in every single situation. Meghan doesn't actually have to attend to unleash her toxic venom on the royal family, and nobody's going to speak to Harry to allow more lies about third-party conversations to be revealed. According to a royal expert, Sarah Vine, the next month's coronation must be about the king and queen, not Meghan and Harry's family dramas. No doubt the official line will be one of quiet, respectful regret, but honestly, you can almost hear the collective sigh of relief emanating from the palace. They may have about 99 problems trying to organize one of the most spectacular events of the century, but at least the possibility of Meghan derailing the whole coronation with what uncharitable souls might consider one of her trademark dramas is not one of them. Instead, Prince Harry's going to come all by himself. He'll leave Meghan and the two invisibles at home in California. And I'm sure he'll have that stony-faced expression on his face that we've been seeing over the last few years. At least, though, we won't have to put up with this whole woe is me in a hat melodrama. The coronation should be solely about the king and queen, about the royal family as a much-loved British institution, not about these two moaning malcontents with their endless grievances and perceived slights. It would have been wonderful if both of them could have come in the spirit of love and reconciliation, but you know that never would have happened. And Harry's presence already feels a bit uncomfortable. His official mouthpiece Scooby-Doo warned that he's only going to make a brief appearance amid claims that he will not even bother going to Buckingham Palace after the main event. Basically, we're all getting the impression that Harry's just coming under sufferance, which means that if Meghan did accompany him, you know that whole thing would have been a disaster. Everyone would have been as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, worried in case they accidentally upset Meghan and ended up on yet another episode of that Poor Little Me podcast series. And I hate to be so cynical, but still, that is what we have learned from experience over the past, 18 months or so? Considering everything that has gone down, it's difficult to see how the presence of Meghan could be anything other than a distraction at best, and at worst, a toxic, dark shadow over the whole proceedings. And it is a crying shame, not only for the king, who, let's remember, was so generous in walking Meghan down the aisle, and considers her, as well as his invisible grandkids, a cherished part of the family. And it's not only for Harry, who in spite of the renunciation of his royal duties, may still have wanted his invisible kids, if they're real, the ones he is so bound and determined to refer to as prince and princess, to have participated in such an important historical event. But still, for loyal monarchists out there who hate to see the royal family being destroyed, this is good news. It's also a little bit of a missed opportunity. See, Harry still believes that his family owes him and Meghan this apology. I would say, though, after the way he's acted, after the nasty things that he has said, and the way that he has betrayed so many people who love him, an invitation to the coronation was a lot more than just a sorry. It was such a gracious, loving gesture. It was a true olive branch. And honestly, it was more than either of those two traitors deserved. If they had any decency or shame or even sense, they would have immediately accepted in the spirit of reconciliation. They would have used this as a great opportunity to draw a line under all the rancor, all the ugliness, and finally start to heal these wounds and move on. But they're not doing that. Instead, they've decided to dig their heels in and just continue the beef between them. Meghan's absence might be a big relief to the palace and most people with any sense, but it is also a snub, one which, and forgive me for being so direct, I suspect sends a pretty clear message. Forget your coronation, I don't care about you, F your royal family and your traditions too. It's a middle finger at King Charles and everything he stands for. There is no way back from this, and maybe that's exactly what both of them are wanting. After all, Meghan has made it pretty clear that she sees her future and focus in the US. Well, all right, Meghan, you're welcome to that, and they're welcome to have you. But unfortunately, we know that Meghan would just spin this as, oh, yes, my children and I were not allowed to attend the big party, all because the little darlings don't look a thing like me. And another thing, the royal family has accused my little darlings of being racist. Just because they say that Montecito was so much better than nasty Buckingham Palace, that doesn't mean they're racist. Can you even imagine such a thing? And you all know I am still not convinced that those two kids even belong to Meghan and Harry. But why in pictures when Meghan is supposedly pregnant, why does her face look a lot fuller as well as her breasts? I mean, that is a weird thing. Maybe she did just gain weight, who knows? You can see one photo of Meghan in the billowy white gown with wraparound wings, and she did look pretty bloated. Who knows what she'd eaten? And the little kitten never wore it again. Talk about feeding a small country for years. Meghan is just consumed with getting pricey, glittery things. I guess all those meals at Sizzlers whet her appetite, didn't they? Now the only thing for us to do is just ignore any media that comes out about all the people who arrived for Archofficial's birthday party and all the fun that they had. Will Harry the prodigal son end up sitting all by himself in the cheap seats as a non-working royal? Or will they make an exception and allow him to be up on the balcony? I at least hope that they frisk him thoroughly for wires. Meghan is bound to demand to know what was said by anybody so that she can use it in her next book or podcast series or Netflix show or whatever. Meghan is going to be the one using the line, being scared to come to the UK. And when it comes to the invisible kids, I don't believe their natural parents want them to travel out of the US in case they're not allowed back in. Nobody can trust Harry. The people on the balcony have already been announced, so I'm sorry, but that is set in stone. There should be no chance that he's going to end up there. I guess Harry's in for another big surprise. He's going to be treated politely, but he is going to be kept isolated with no chance to have a private conversation with anyone. And after the ceremony, I'm sure security people are going to escort him to wherever he's staying, or maybe he'll just go straight to the airport. After his shocking betrayal and the revelations of what a truly weak little idiot he is, why would anybody want to associate with him?